Hello and welcome to an episode of Grant and Parker talking about football. Um, I'm Parker Fleming. You might know my friend and colleague Grant McGalliard. Grant, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Parker. It's good to see your smiling face again. Good to be back talking ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the couple of followers who I apologize. I should have gone and looked this up. I can go look this up. Who kind of effectively bullied us into this? Issued a challenge of 100 likes on a tweet, and we would get back on the microphone. And obviously, that was an intentionally low bar. I wanted that to happen, and I'm glad we're going to be here and going to talk about the Big 12. But been kind of fun to check in. Shout out to Tad Remy and Kyler Cowart, I believe, are the two that were bantering. That I said, you know what, let's do this. So shout out to those two guys. But Grant, we're gonna talk about the Big 12. I pulled up the YouTube and heard myself. I've clearly not done live in a long time.
We're rusty. It's okay.
But yeah, we're going to talk about the Big 12, kind of a crazy conference. There's a ton of teams, and so we won't spend a ton of times on every teams, but kind of getting excited for the season. Media days has happened, come and gone. The SEC's already talking about another conference structure and all that dominance. But in the short term, Grant, in the immediate reality, we have a Big 12 game this weekend with Kansas State and Iowa State playing in Dublin, which is just obvious. There's no follow-up question as to why that's happening. Just very apparent that a storied rivalry like Farmageddon would not take place in Manhattan or in Ames, but would rather take place in Dublin. So
right. The Irish, my people, have a long history with the plow. So I assume perhaps this is some homage, perhaps, to the agricultural nature of the Emerald Isle. Parker, I will tell you one thing. You were talking about conference structure. Researching quote unquote for this little podcast here. 16 teams is so many teams for a conference. Like
it's too many.
Return with a V to regionalism, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And the Big 12, what gets me too is 16 teams, and the Big 10 is guilty of this too. Lest we just be picking on the Big 12. The Big 10 is guilty of this too. 16 teams across 3 time zones is just abhorrent. Yep. And the cherry on top of the icing of the cake, to cross my metaphors there, is that the Big 12 tweets their graphics in Eastern time zone, which is an affront to taste and decency, Grant. The Big 12 is a central time zone conference. Arizona, Colorado, BYU, Utah, Arizona State, happy to have you. You're getting on central time. We're letting West Virginia and UCF and I believe Cincinnati dictate just the entire nonsense for the rest of the conference. It's really return with a V back to the round table. It's just gotten all over the place.
Yeah. Other just general notes about the Big 12 before we go into actually previewing all these teams. I am worried, to the extent that I care about conference winning. I am worried about the parity in the Big 12. I think it's fun. Sure. You never know what you're going to get, yada, yada, but we're almost playing to stereotypes here, Parker, because there are 7-8 teams that have an outside chance of winning this conference. And probably none of them are going to have more than 10 wins. Maybe.
And you'd like to think that the Big 12 champion has a guarantee in the playoff.
Yeah.
But you could certainly see a world where, much like everyone in the prison in The Dark Knight trying to jump and get across that chasm, we're all in the prison of the Big 12 fighting with each other and training, and nobody's going to be able to make the jump.
I'm going to prevent you from the nerds attacking you. That would be The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh my gosh! God,
listen. I'm just trying to help you as a friend. But yes, that, and to your point, and to the point where I don't enjoy when the Big 12 gets overlooked or kind of painted into that corner. I mean, national media's narratives do not impact my enjoyment of college football, and they shouldn't impact any of our listeners' enjoyment of college football. But it is fun to hear insightful, actual knowledge of your conference. And so when you see rankings from national media members who clearly have not looked at the Big 12 at all, and I'm not going to name any names for the sake of your career, but it gets pretty daggum annoying. I'm not going to lie to you. This is
I totally get that.
With respect to the Sun Belt, this is not the Sun Belt. You know what I mean? This is a Big Four conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, I'll go on a little bit of a nerd rant here for a second, just to say, like, a lot of people are holding up, the spread of win totals from Circa this year was like 8.5 to 5, I think was the spread of all the Big 12 teams were in there. And, I just want to point out, like, that doesn't mean that no teams are going to be good. That means that there's just huge uncertainty. Like, the top of the Big 12 will be a nationally competitive 1 or 2, maybe even 3 in a good year teams that can go to the wire with Texas, that can go to the wire with anybody in a playoff game. And yeah, you definitely want to think about uncertainty. On the national media thing, I will shout out, I did have a coworker ask me this summer, wait a minute, what's the deal? Do you actually not like Josh Pate? And I thought that's the sweet spot of my Twitter experience, is not being sure whether anything is a bit or not. And so love that there. Grant, let's talk about the Big 12, I think, without further ado. Shout out to Beans in the comments. Being here. Grant, I don't think we told anybody we were doing this. I think we literally just said, hey, let's get on the microphone. So let's talk about the Big 12. We're going to start with teams. We're going to go high level. We'll take some nerdy stats, but we're not going to go super deep in the weeds. We're going to talk about what we find is interesting and just kind of what we're looking for here. And I think the way we will organize this is just with starting off with win totals and helping us I don't know. We'll just go in order. It's fine. We'll kind of start towards the top and end towards the bottom. We'll probably go deeper on the top than the bottom. Heaven help us, but we'll just see how we get into it. So the first team we're going to talk about today, Grant, is the Utah Utes. Subtitle for the season: Kyle Whittingham's last ride? ? They bring in Devin Dampier and Jason Beck from New Mexico. A desperate cry for help on the offense. And Grant, I don't think it's a small thing to say. Last year, they were awful on offense, absolutely putrid. 86 in offense. I believe 4 games they had the opportunity to win the game, had the ball, and could not do anything with it. 92nd in the rush, 97th in the pass. They need an infusion on the offensive side of the ball.
They do. So I'm throughout this podcast, I'm going to be using returning production numbers from CBS Sports, and those probably are a little bit outdated, but they're a good barometer, I think, for just kind of what to expect in terms of returning starters. Utah does, I believe, return the majority of its offensive line. In fact, I think all 5 starters should be back, unless I'm missing something. Returning production is good, only if returning production is good. But I think this was a team that didn't play up to its potential. And if a couple things go differently, I mean, Parker, the Utes started 4-0 last year, lost 7 straight, and then won their last game of the season. And 5 of those 7 losses were by 1 score. So this is probably
close margins.
Yeah. And listen, it's Kyle Whittingham. It's not like we expect him to have a dramatically great offense anyway. This is always going to be, to use a stereotypical term, a hard-nosed defensive focused team. And so I don't think last year's Utah is going to be as much of a predictor of this year's Utah as you would think. And that's kind of indicative when you look at their projected win total of 7.5.
And I honestly might even go a little contrarian there with you, because I think in Kyle Whittingham's mind, if this works, they are last year's team with some explosive plays on offense. Last year, Brant Keithy, great tight end. Like, they could find him sometimes, but they couldn't get the ball to him consistently. They broke out the Wildcat a little bit and got him the ball. But I think the vision there is, I mean, the defense was 31st last year, and that's taking into account complementary football, where like they were getting hammered by the offense, just no help and negative situations all the time. And if they can just bring in that Dampier and Beck and just raise the explosive ceiling a little bit and say, hey, we're going to stomp you out. And instead of losing 13-6, we're going to win 18-13 because we got 2 explosive plays that game. That's all you need really for this Big 12 team. Not to mention Spencer Fano, absolutely a dude, maybe a very high first round pick. And then Lomu at the other tackle. Lomu, maybe, I don't know. Don't sleep on him as a first round guy. I think there's a legitimate possibility that Utah has 2 first round NFL tackles on their team right now, which goes a long way. The question, if I had to be the devil's advocate here, Grant, that I'm wondering about, we know about Devin Dampier at New Mexico. We know about the chaos, the explosiveness, the playing in space, the creation, all of that stuff. Are we sure that he's not going to line up behind a clean pocket and have to make very precise, accurate throws that he's not excellent at, and he's actually going to be a little bit worse than he was last year?
You're wondering if the stifling of the creativity is going to make him a worse quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is a really interesting question. And if you'll give me 2 seconds, I'm going to look at his. I'm going to pull him up a little bit on PFF here, but I don't necessarily think that is a concern. I think that instead of stifling, he'll actually just be able to, like, I don't know, do what he wants. He only scrambled 40 times last year, which, yeah, 40 sounds like a lot, but it's what, 4 times a game. So, I mean, it's not like he was consistently, like, every other pass he was running for his life at New Mexico. His average
he found a way to get the ball downfield while he was
like his ADOT was 11.9. Yeah. So, like, not huge where he was just bombing everything and just going for broke, but also not like he was taking every check down.
Right. If this doesn't work, Grant, I think that the reason it doesn't work is because they made Devin Dampier put on a tie and show up to a 9-to-5, and he's not that guy. And that's a little bit, that's the only thing I'm worried about with Utah, which is like a great problem to have. Like, oh, our offensive line is too good, so our quarterback has to make elite throws as opposed to running for his life. Like, I that's a little persnickety to actually like bring that up. But I think if we look back on 2025 Utah and we say, darn, that had a lot of potential and it didn't work, that will be why.
Right. It's could Jaden Daniels have done what, just to throw a name out, like Jake Coker have done? Right, like Jaden Daniels is awesome, broken plays, whatever. But could he have like just stood in the pocket and made throws when he needed to? I don't know. We'll find out. Just using
we will find out. Grant, Utah's schedule this year to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
They have Tech and Arizona State at home. They've got trips to BYU, WVU, and Baylor are all tricky. They have 3 of the ranked Big 12 teams. They're going to face them. They're going to have their opportunity to claim their spot in the playoff at the top of the conference, and they're going to have to earn it.
They are, like you said, UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming. Those are 3 winnable games. I mean, what you don't want of last year, where you go season and then you play Tech, for instance, and all of a sudden it just goes to pot. I do think they will have an opportunity if it does start to bleed a little bit. Say you drop one early, say you drop that Tech game. They're West Virginia, September 27th, and I think that's going to be. You'll get my feelings of West Virginia later in this podcast, but I do think they have opportunities to right the ship along the way, and that it won't kind of snowball. You know what I mean?
Very strong possibility we spend the most time on West Virginia. Anybody on this podcast, I think. My kind of pet theory in college football, Grant, is that like you almost want to lose a game. Like I'd rather be one loss going into the playoffs than no losses going into the playoffs. I think maybe call it the Oregon effect last year. I don't know. Maybe you need that little fire under you. Yeah, so that's Utah. I think that's a good level setting for how deep we're going to go. There. Anything else you got on the Utes before we move on?
No, I just wanted to over under. Well, we are not beholden to any of these projections, but over under 7.5. What do you have?
Yeah, 7.5. We'll just we won't do live game by game, but looking at the schedule, I'm going to count. They should win UCLA. UCLA's teams can be better at the end of the season. I think maybe some growing pains there. Wyoming shouldn't be a problem. They should be 3-0. Out of conference. I think it's very easy to see Cincinnati, Colorado, Kansas, West Virginia as 4, and then they need a 5th that becomes BYU, Arizona State, Kansas State, Texas Tech. I think I'm going to go over. I think 8 would be kind of disappointing for my expectations this year, and the fact that Utah has moved from dark horse to front runner pretty quickly over the offseason. I think I'm going to go over though.
Yeah, I'm joining you. I think. I mean, if you want to look at UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Kansas as wins, I mean, you still a couple on the way. Yeah, I'm going to go over with that.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Let's keep it out west. Let's go to the reigning Big 12 champions. Arizona State. Very, very interesting team. The vibes are high. I will point out at the very beginning, Kenny Dillingham has a lot of leverage right now, and he is asking for that indoor practice facility. When you ask him a question, he talks about that indoor practice facility. Arizona State Board of Regents, Arizona State University public system, build that man his indoor facility. Don't let a school out east build that facility for him. Give him what he wants. He wants to be there. Make the man happy.
Before we even get into like the advanced stats or just like our kind of projections about Arizona State, what are your thoughts on Dillingham? Because I know he can be ostentatious a bit. I know that he can kind of be a loud dog, if you will. But I'm a fan. That's kind of the energy that I want, and I do think that it translates well onto the field. It's not all bark no bite. I'm a big fan of Kenny Dillingham.
I think he is absolutely a player's coach. And
Yes.
he does flirt with the line of cheeseball a little bit. He gets right up
Oh,
to it, right?
absolutely.
But I think he's got an authenticity that is just unparalleled in college. Well, maybe paralleled, but unsurpassed in college football. He means it. From everything we've seen, he legitimately is a guy who wants to be there and believes what he's saying. And I appreciate that. And I think it translates to the coaches. I'm long on him. I think he understands. He's been at multiple programs that have been excellent. He understands how to build an excellent program. And I think he's on the right track there. I'm long on Dillingham.
If you give me a golf comparison, if you will, I'm going to kind of compare him a little bit to Justin Thomas as a golfer, as you may know. Can definitely come off across as a cornball, can come off as cheesy. But I think all the scrappiness, the talk is authentic. And I think the guy just wants to win. And so I like that about Dillingham.
Can I give you one more that's going to be absolutely worse?
Yeah, go ahead.
I watched the Quarterback season 1 on Netflix on the plane the other week. I've done like a full 180 on Kirk Cousins. I think he's a great guy.
Right.
And I think there's like such a Kirk Cousins-ness about Dillingham too, where it's just like genuine goofball, like guy. It's just, yeah, it's there.
We're circling back to loving earnestness. We're back. Earnestness is back in. It's hot this fall. On the field, you can get into the advanced stuff, Parker. I just want to point out they return a lot from this team. Yes, they lose Cam Scatterbo, but man, there's a lot of guys coming back on this offense and this defense. I think they're probably, not to spoil anything, my pick to repeat up top.
Interesting. 13th in overall EPA per play, opponent adjusted last year, 21st in defense, first in the Big 12 on offense, third on defense. They do return Levitt and Tyson, the wide receiver quarterback connection there that I think is good. I will say, let's pump the brakes on Sam Levitt's the best quarterback in the country. I think that's a little unfair to him.
For sure.
We saw that this offseason. I think one, separating out the conversation of like NFL good and college good is important to do. Focusing only on college good quarterback experience showed us some great plays. In that Texas game, absolute gamer, moved around in the pocket, made some good throws. Had a lot of help, especially because if you go watch Cam Scatterbo's film, that man should be tackled perpetually 5 yards before he lands on the ground. Yes. Reminds me of the Jerry Clower bit where he talks about the good running backs are the ones that are always pointing towards their end zones. The two men will run and hit Cam Scatterbo. And if it was me or you or 90% of the running backs in FBS, they'd be on their back with their wind knocked out. And Cam Scatterbo gets low to the ground and finds the way to get 3 or 4 more yards. Just absolutely incredible. The offensive line got cooked a lot of times, and Scatterbo made something out of not even nothing, out of negative there. So the gravity of this offense is entirely going to change. They were 57th in rush rate over expected last year, super run heavy, and they're going to have to pass more. That's just going to happen. They bring in Udo from Army, beefy guy. I think good hard nosed short yardage running back will give them a lot of upside. But if this team repeats, it is because Levitt and Tyson take a next step there. They've got an offensive tackle who might be a first, second round guy in. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name because I can only see it.
Oh,
there.
yeah. Ian Achor. Where to go with that?
Ian Achor. I like that.
Sure.
So that's my biggest worry is the change in volume. So they are returning to production. Continuity is great. They got all off season to rep this or whatever, but there's a lot of pressure going on Sam Levitt. And Grant, I just don't know that I've seen anything out of Arizona State that makes me think they're special in the grand scheme of Big 12 history, where a team comes out of nowhere, rises to the top, competes or wins the championship, and then falls off substantially the next year. That just seems to be the law of nature in the Big 12.
It does. And I think, TCU's been that team before. I think Oklahoma State's been that team before, taking that kind of next leap into, Baylor's been that team. And the only thing I'll say about Arizona State is that I do think there is a consistency there that probably those other teams didn't have. Yes, again, Cam Scatterbo, notable exception. But I don't know. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid is all I'm saying. Schedule. They get a lot of the heavy people up front, Baylor, TCU, Utah, Texas, and then close with Houston, Iowa State, West Virginia, Colorado, Arizona. So if you can get through with 1, maybe 2 losses, I got a nice little to success there for Iowa State. I also would like to point out one thing.
Pretty at the end for sure.
Yeah, Arizona State plays Texas State in non-con, and there are many jokes I can make about that game and the student bodies of each, who I love. But it's going to be a heck of a student atmosphere.
My notes about that were that game's not a joke. Like they got Texas State will get you. 2, that bowl that needs to be named. I feel like that game deserves a name. I don't think we're going to go into what the name could be. Let the reader understand, but I think that game should be named.
Do you think the BAC or the GPA will be higher in the standings for Arizona State?
Many people are wondering that. Only 4 away games in conference, Grant,
Yeah.
I think is a good setup as well with that asymmetric. That is one of the issues with the 9-game schedule that not a lot of people talk about to make this newsworthy and relying on news today. With a 9-game conference schedule, sometimes you're going to get 5, sometimes you're going to get 4 at home, and that's going to matter, and that's going to help determine the outcomes, and that's something to watch for. Arizona State does get 4. Colorado in November may be tricky. A little bit cold, I think that's one I had circled there as well. But 7.5 is the over under there, I believe as well. Where are you leaning on that?
I'm running hard on the over there. Again, this team's probably my pick to repeat. Like you said, things can get squirrely, not repeat champions in the Big 12, but I think they're at least going to make the conference championship. So I'm taking the over.
I like that. I misspoke. It's 8.5 is the over under.
Yeah.
I think. Like, could they be the BYU Colorado of last year who won, 9-3, but didn't make the playoff and, didn't really that seems like a disappointing season, but in reach, I don't know. I'm really close on this one. I think I'm leaning over, but I'm pretty close on Arizona State.
Well, some very heavy unders. So I have room to go for Arizona State. So I'm going to take the over by 1. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yep. No one go back and total all the wins that we've ascribed at the end of this. And a team who has, speaking of the grand arc of history in the Big 12, speaking of a team who's bucked that trend and been consistent just about every year, let's move to the Kansas State Wildcats, Grant.
Sure.
I will tell you, I did a thing. I went through my ratings preseason. I've released week 0 advanced stat previews. And I went through and just marked where I had everyone rated. I didn't read those off for Arizona State and Utah. I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll read what I have for Kansas State, and then we can go from there.
Cool.
Utah was 22nd to start the season. Arizona State was 17th. Kansas State is starting at 24th. Grant, this conversation might end and begin with, can Avery Johnson be the guy? Can he take the leap that everyone believes that he can? Your silence is concerning.
I think he can. Sure. I think there probably is, and I don't mean this necessarily even as a bug or a negative, but I think there probably is a little bit of a limit to how much of a leap you can take and what Kansas State is trying to do. They don't want Avery Johnson to be Devin Dampier at New Mexico. They don't want Avery Johnson to do more than is asked of him. And so I wonder, to you, Parker, I guess I'll throw it back. What does the leap mean to you?
I think, one, he was a little bit maligned last year. I think he got blamed for some problems that weren't necessarily there. I think the leap, Grant, comes in the run game. If we look at his passing stats last year, right? We talk about 57.5% completion, 7.2 yards per attempt. Yeah. Okay, those could be better.
Yes.
Bring down the 3.9 big time throw to 3.3 turnover worthy play, but 11.9 drop percentage. That's pretty rough. Was pressured 120 times, was sacked only 11 times. Grant, I think where we talk about the leap is get that in the 60s. You need to be in the 60s, Avery, in the completions. But I think in the run game, I think Kansas State just needs to embrace, the dude can go with his feet. Let's get this going. Maybe a little bit of addition by subtraction. DJ Giddens leaves, really good running back, really good yards after contact for him. Dylan Edwards comes over from Colorado to replace Giddens. I think that's a good kind of swap at the running back position. Mm-hmm. But Avery Johnson was second of the team in carries, 111. I wonder if he doesn't, if they don't get him involved in the run game a little bit earlier and see if they can squeeze a little more juice out of him in that kind of dual threat reality. They were 16th in EPA per play last year, but they were super run heavy in terms of rush rate over expected. So they've got to figure out how they use that rush threat to extend the ball downfield, but then punish teams that are going to try to play that downfield defense.
So what's interesting, Parker, is you mentioned 111 carries. 23 of those were scrambles. So he really only had 73 designed run types. Yep. When you initially said I want him to run more, I was like, well, I don't know, he's running over 100 times. That's pretty, but maybe 100 designed runs could be the target for Avery Johnson. And just let him kind of use that dual threat ability a little bit more. This is always going to be a great running team. I trust Chris Kleiman to do pretty much anything. When researching this, I was like, I mean, just pencil them in for 9 wins and move along. Like, that's all they daggum do. They just win, and it looks ugly. And every time they play TCU, I don't like it. And then, hey, what do you know? They won 9 games.
Their team, like mean and variance trade-off, right? Like, could Kansas State increase their year-to-year variance, but also increase their ceiling every couple of years as opposed to just winning 9 games? It's an interesting philosophical question because obviously Kleiman has built that team to run on autopilot. And that's not to diminish the work he's done, but like they do things a certain way. They're returning 3 beefy offensive linemen, putting 2 more in there that are going to be good. Like they're going to run the ball. They're going to play consistent defense, returning 6 starters. But you just wonder if could Avery be the guy who's not that, Will Howard type of like, hey, I'm going to distribute the ball to the good players, but like a guy who could truly change the gravity of the game. That's who's really interesting to me.
I mean, he's not going to be Colin Klein, but could he be B+ Colin Klein?
Could he be Jake Waters? I think I'm comfortable saying Jake Waters is B+ Colin Klein.
Jake Waters. Wow.
What a name. What a guy.
All right.
Six starters returning on defense should be solid again. The schedule's decent. Trips to Arizona, Kansas, Oklahoma State. Kansas not really a road game. I will say it does get a little sticky there because they've got Baylor and then TCU and then Kansas back to back. Would not shock me if they drop one of those 3, just because that's one of the better offenses in the league, a team that should be dramatically better from last year. And then your rival, who with a healthy quarterback could be really, really frustrating to play against in their new stadium. All that stuff goes in there. I think Tech and Utah define the season for them. If Kansas State beats Tech and Utah, they're in the playoff. If they don't beat Tech and Utah, they're probably the best 8-win team in America again,
I think that's totally fair. I also, again, would like to point out their knock-on is like sneaky, not a cakewalk. Between North Dakota and Army. North Dakota
is at least a physical toll.
Yeah.
It might not be competitive. Those are 2 very physical games. It's nice you go at Arizona and then UCF after that. You can breathe a little bit later in September. But Iowa State and Dublin, you come back next Saturday, you're playing North Dakota, and then the next week you've got Army. Like, man, that's just a rough kind of physical toll for Kansas State to start the season.
And I should note, too, they're playing Arizona in a non-conference game because it was scheduled before Arizona joined the Big 12.
Very weird. Very odd.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't like that at all. I got to say, speaking of things that are odd and against nature, I don't like that you're playing your rivalry in Dublin. I don't like that you're playing a conference team non-conference. Stuff's gotten weird, man. Stuff's gotten weird.
I don't like this out of Kansas State. Y'all are supposed to be the most dependable, folks in the conference, and here you are doing all this weird crap. Over under 8.5.
We can't go over on everything.
Vegas knows what they're doing. I'm going to take the under.
I think what I should do is I should promo myself and look at my win totals.
That's why we were doing this whole thing.
I forgot about the win totals. I just forgot. It's not. I said Sims instead of simulations. So I'm searching on Twitter. All right. Kansas State, 10,000 Sims. The 10,000 at first would have made it perfect. I had them at 8.3. So if we're believing the number, maybe this is an 8-4 season for Kansas State. I don't like that one bit. I think that's a good average outcome, but also you could say that for 90% of college football teams that 8 wins is an average outcome. Let's go under, and I'll say the body toll issue that we just talked about, I think is what really gets me. And I think they're going to get into the stretch of the season and it's going to be hard. And they're going to have just be run down and drop one they shouldn't. That makes them 8-4 and not 9-3. That's my take.
I like it. Who do we got next?
The $20 million team, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who, Grant, are conducting an experiment in how much can we spend and still win with a Jag quarterback. Jag being just a guy. They're Baron Morton. They upgraded all around him. They've got an entirely new offensive line. They've got an entirely new defense.
Thank God.
And Grant, the gambit, yes, it should be. The gambit seems to be, can we block better than everyone else, and can we pass rush better than everyone else to a point where nothing else matters? If this goes right, Grant, Texas Tech should just absolutely dog walk everyone on their schedule because their trenches advantage is so much better they're so much better in the trenches than anyone else in the conference.
For the record, that's how I play NCAA 26. I just recruit line and hope for the best. Yes, in a perfect world, if you're Cody Campbell, that's how it works.
Right.
I think it's going to take a year to kick in. Now, I'm probably higher on Baron Morton than you are, just because I remember when he was in high school and I was covering high school in the same area. And I don't know if it's going to completely click this year. I think maybe this is me being old school, but I think that much turnover is going to take some time to gel. Especially with new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator on staff. We are talking essentially about an entirely new college football team. Do you think it's all going to click right at the start? I mean, yeah, you throw all the talent out there and hope for the best, but I don't know, man.
Let's talk about the schedule. They go to Utah, to Kansas State, to West Virginia, to Arizona State. They do miss Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, which is nice for them. Weird that they're not playing either of those schools, but they are going to have to earn it on the road. Last 2 seasons, they're 5-7 on games not played in Lubbock. I should mention they lost to Wyoming in the opener in 2023. I think many people have forgotten about that, but that did happen in a tragically hilarious game. This is a real head in the heart situation, Grant, because I'm like, okay, Romello Height and David Bailey and 5 very good offensive linemen. You should do whatever you want. Eakin's like a fine piece on offense. He's squarely. If Morton can stay healthy, if Morton stays healthy, they win. Micah Hudson's back, and if he's okay, I think there's a lot of potential there. You look at the TCU game last year. Like if Morton doesn't get hurt, they don't lose that game. That's just the reality. And so I think there's a reason for optimism. I think everyone in America, every coach, GM, collective booster, athletic director is going to be following Texas Tech extremely closely to figure out, like, God help us, is this what we're going to have to do every year? Or are you going to have to develop players to do this? This is like the first real portal infusion, because not everybody can go out and say, hey, my son's a quarterback who's going to make an NFL roster, and Travis Hunter is one of the best two-way players in the history of the sport, and just wipe out the roster. Like, this is truly, hey, we're importing our starters this year, and we're going to go all in.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think if Texas Tech goes 8-4 this year, or 7-5 or whatever, then it's necessarily a proof that this doesn't work. I think the money cannon's going to have to run for a couple of years to get them up to a point where they're Big 12 champions. But I think in the long term, this is going to pay off, no pun intended, very well for Texas Tech. I just think it's going to take one more year of 8-4 football before that happens. Does that make sense? Is that
almost
unfair?
Yes. No, I think that's entirely real. It's almost the opposite of an NBA rebuild. It's not that the players they've acquired are like bad, but basically they've decided in the Big 12 they can increase the value of their asset portfolio for the future by getting talent in the door. So in the NBA, when you want to tank, you want to get future assets, right? You want to get future draft picks. But what Texas Tech is doing is let's get good assets now, regardless of the results on the field, so that we're signaling to everyone else that we can spend. And so that we can do that kind of gravity of recruiting and be like, we have good players, let's add more good players. And so it's the timeline's kind of inverted from an NBA rebuild is the way I was thinking about it. But I think that's really, really interesting here. And shout out to James Blanchard. Got to talk to him in Nashville a little bit a couple weeks ago. And one super humble guy in person, and was really, trying to say, hey, we've got to see what happens on the field. Like, we put the pieces in place. We've got to see if it works, but clearly has a strategy and is going about that strategy. I will say the caveat of strategy doesn't matter as much when you have the war chest that they have, but they are thinking about this and doing it. So really, really interesting. Schedule was a little dicey here and there. Grant, the over under for Texas Tech, 8.5. Are you believing that the Red Raiders are going to do what they are being projected to do?
I believe they're going to do exactly what they're projected to do in that term, and that's 8 wins. I have them at about 8-4. I think I'm going to take the under slightly. I want to point out, just because this statistic is incredible, they were the second worst pass defense in the country last year in terms of yards per game. Tim DeRuyter's out, so new defense coordinator in. And I know you can't project this season based on last year, but I have them at 8-4, man. I think one more year.
I don't hate that. I'm going to go over just slightly, like basically the same margin that you have them under. I'm going to go over. Projections have them 21st in the nation, 8.6 expected wins based on the simulation. So slightly over. I do think 8 is probably a disappointment out of Texas Tech this year, even understanding the long-term runs. I don't know that there's a number that means that they're making changes, especially with the coordinator turnover. And the coordinator turnover wasn't voluntary. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to get rid of these guys. Like, well, it was on defense, but like on offense, like they didn't, turn over both coordinators like Aranda did or Dykes has done to get out of a bad spot. Like Kitley got a good job. And so that gives some grace as well. I think short of like a 3-9, McGuire's fine. I don't think there's that level of expectation on him. It's possible that I lost Grant entirely. Let's see. Let's talk here and hang out. And we'll see if Grant texts me about his bad Wi-Fi. There's a storm rolling through. That is a very Texas thing to say as Grant pulls back in and re-uploads the Wi-Fi. Hopefully he is not kicked off for good. I'll vamp a little bit. I'll talk about Iowa State while Grant's out. If he hops back in, he can join me on that. Moving to Iowa State, I've got them at 32nd. I think the big deal with Iowa State is that they had two excellent options. Jaden Higgins, great explosive threat. Jalen Noel, a guy who could just be all over the field. And what I've talked about this breathlessly everywhere I can. Noel was great because he kind of moved closer to the ball every year and they got more out of him and did more with him. And I think that's really, really interesting. They're going to try to replace those guys. 58% of target share gone, both to the Texans, by the way. The Houston Texans said, we'll take the set. We'll just take both of them. They're going to try to replace with Sowell from ECU, who is pretty productive there. He's going to wear number 0 this season, which is interesting for a wide receiver. I like it. And they're going to bring in Townsend, Xavier Townsend from UCF. He's a guy I liked last year. The offense was rough moving through. But I think the big question for Iowa State as we bring Grant back in here is that the Higgins and Noel were both multiple year guys. Higgins transferred up from FCS and was there for 2 years. Noel was a 4-year guy who kind of got involved. Matt Campbell has a developmental program. They've got an experienced quarterback with Rocco Becht. And Grant, I want to hear your thoughts on Rocco. But the question is, can they plug and play? Can they take these two positions that they've relied on so heavily in the past, who've developed over the course of multiple years, and bring in year one guys and have them plug and play? That's a big question. That's kind of a new challenge for Matt Campbell.
It's a new challenge. And to your point about Rocco Becht, I think my question is he good or is he just doing a lot? He scrambled 35 times last year. He dropped back 515 times. I mean, Parker, this was a Rocco Becht centric offense. His average depth of target was 9.8. 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I think Rocco Becht is a fine college quarterback. I do think that for some reason he's getting hype that I don't know if he quite lives up to. Is that unfair?
See, I feel like I don't think so. I think the narrative was like in 2023, it was like Rocco Becht is fine. He's fine. Like he hit 3,000 yards 2 years in a row now. And he's fine. He did have some really good wide receivers. I actually think we've tipped to the opposite though, because there is some scheme nonsense here. Like he has a ton of dropbacks and 2 really good wide receivers. And some moments where it was like, oh man, I wish you were better. Like I wish you would just take over the game here. But you look at him and I think he's like being left off of lists to a point where it's like, okay, I mean, 4-year guy, like offensive mind, shout out to his dad, St. Louis Battlehawks coach. I think that's a little worrisome for me. He's coming into his 4th year and, super consistent, has played basically every game the last 2 years for them with almost 1,000 dropbacks. Like we've seen a lot of tape and I don't know that there's like a huge leap he can take, but if he could just replicate the production from last year with these new wide receivers, that's good enough.
No, you're right. I mean, if he can do what he did last year and Iowa State went 11-3, I think they return along the back end. Apologies for my Wi-Fi. I missed the first part of your Iowa State breakdown, but I think that a stingy defense returns a lot. You're right. If he does what he did last year, this team is good enough to win 10 games, 9 games. I think.
Yeah, if the defense is what it could be, I think there's a ton of potential. They're very talented on defense. They did lose Miles Purchase and Darian Porter to the league. John Tells Williams was second team all conference at cornerback. Like, I think he's good. I still don't see the guy on Iowa State's defense. That doesn't mean he doesn't exist. That just means I don't know who it's going to be. It's kind of similar to the problem of the that I mentioned earlier about the Big 12 win totals being condensed. It's like, it's not that there's not an elite defender on that team. Right. I just don't know who it's going to be. And that's kind of the issue there. They do have a couple guards on offense that could be draftable. And so again, continuity there helps a lot, and experience helps too. I think we know what a Matt Campbell team is going to be. And I think that they're getting calibrated. Like, the PR is getting calibrated. I don't think we're ever going to see an Iowa State season again where they are crowned before the season and then are bad. I think that's something Matt Campbell is doing a good job at expectation management. I think we as a society have landed nicely on Matt Campbell has done an amazing job for Iowa State.
Who's doing that calibration? Because he doesn't have an agent.
I can't comment on that. I'm not okay, sure. Right. It's been a mystery to me, but it is very interesting. Pretty easy schedule, honestly. Kansas State Saturday, but their other away games are Cincinnati, Colorado, TCU, Oklahoma State, all extremely winnable for Iowa State there. Non-con, that Iowa game is going to get you. I think that's one to look at there as well.
FCS. Number 4, just saying.
Should be fine. Should be something. The biggest issue with South Dakota is that, like, you might actually have to try for a little bit before the Iowa game, and that's what stinks. But you get a nice breather against Arkansas State, who should, as a compliment to them, Arkansas State should give you a lot of trouble in the pass game, and you might get some good quality reps heading into the season. The peak does seem to be like Saturday, November 1st versus Arizona State. Other than that, I think every game is pretty clearly winnable. It wouldn't surprise me if they were favored in 9 of those.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Kudos to Iowa State. Why are they going to Jonesboro?
What do you mean? Who doesn't like a relaxing weekend in North Central Arkansas? I think I lost you again.
That's all. Oh, no.
No, you're here. I got you. We're okay.
All right. Yeah. No, Ben, it's very pretty. I'm just surprised that they're making that road trip, but good for them.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, you got to get creative, get into different parts of the country as well, a program like that. And, maybe with 4 away games that aren't super hard, you're trying to simulate some diversity in the season as well. That might be a consideration too. Or maybe Arkansas State said they would come play you at home for $650,000 instead of $1.2 million if you came to them one time. So you're like, whatever, that's fine. All that goes on there. The over under for Iowa State, 7.5. It's the same for everybody here. I feel comfortable. I'll go first. I feel comfortable with an over. This schedule is not very tough.
Yeah, I agree. I think 8 wins, 9 wins. I think if they get to 10 and they're back in the Big 12 championship, that's going to count as a success. I think you kind of have to get there, especially with as many years as Rocco has under his belt and as many years as Matt Campbell has under his belt. They're aiming for the Big 12 championship this year.
Yep, I think that's fair. Grant, looking at the time and looking at how many teams we have left, let's do TCU next, because we'll spend a little bit of time on that. And then we'll rapid fire through Baylor, Kansas, BYU, Houston, rest of the conference. And we might not get to all of them. That's okay. I think we'll just see what happens. But let's go to TCU. I've got them 30th in the preseason rankings. They've got the third-year quarterback, Grant. 9-win season last year, but it really doesn't feel like it. Kind of interesting. I think, to Sonny Dykes' credit, he has also kind of intimated that with the, hey, we wear this ring. That's great. We're looking for bigger rings. Very clearly, he's been told what the expectation is for what TCU is spending and where they should finish in the league. He communicated as much at Big 12 Media Days. I think TCU, as we have said for years, in the new Big 12 should be at the top. In terms of access to talent, in terms of facilities, there's no reason TCU should not consistently be at the top of the Big 12. This feels like the year where Sonny Dykes needs to get there.
Yes, I think there is some stuff we can say about the new AD, Mark Buddy, who he wants victories. We'll put it that way. And like you said, Dykes has kind of intimated that. I do think that this is an interesting year for the Frogs. Like you said, 3-year starting quarterback with Josh Hoover. There's returning talent on defense that has been here a while and that I personally love, and own several compounds on Buckhork Island and some other places.
We actually last year, Grant had to bring in some dirt and expand the real estate on Bud Clark Island because 2 years ago we thought our investment was tanked, but last year, buddy, we're putting up condos, man. We're it's building.
We were doing some land reclamation projects. I'll tell you this: what the opening game against North Carolina is going to say a lot. And God Almighty, how does TCU keep stumbling into complete circus atmosphere opening games with new coaches between Deion Sanders and Bill Belichick? This is the second time in 3 years they've had to do this. They should win that game. I highly recommend that they do. I don't know.
From a football perspective, it's super interesting. And I want to talk about the players, so I'll go quick on this. But you have Bill Belichick versus one of the most candy ass college football offenses ever. I'm so intrigued. Like, I'm not rooting for anything. I'm so interested to watch it. It would be amazing if Belichick shut out the beer and shoot on game one. Like, it would not be surprised if he was just like, how does no one else know how to not stop this? Like, this is insane. I think it's probably more likely we get in like a mid-40s slugfest where just like defenses are both a little sloppy. The question for TCU is against the Belichicks, the Bill of Chai, the Bill of Chorum, the Father and the Son.
And the Holy Spirit.
Do they go more?
Is Jordan the Holy Spirit? Is Jordan the Holy Spirit?
I went to Michael Lombardi as the Holy Spirit. I don't know. I think, I think against them, the question is like, does TCU pull out all the stops to try to win that game, or do they try to not put answers on paper against Belichick? Be interesting to see how much respect they have him. Deary moving back to center, Grant, I think, his natural position gives them a boost in the interior offensive line that they need some help on. Ben Taylor Whitfield, I'm hearing some things about him from the scout agent community. I think he's really, really good. TCU, go ahead and pay him, like extend him early. Bailey and Dwyer and McAllister is like a legitimately scary three-headed monster at wide receiver. You're losing Savion. You're also losing Savion out of the backfield, which was a godsend last year. But I think that's really, really good. You and I are always rooting for the tight ends at TCU, feeling like, why aren't they using them more? DeAndre Rogers comes in, could be really interesting player there that I think gives them just another dimension, gives them more tools in their tool chest for this offense.
I mean, the question is, does the running game exist? Because they were lackluster last year on the ground. 58th in the country compared to 24th passing per year numbers. And
they might have been anti-luster on the run game last year. Like until they did the Savion switch, patent pending, verbal trademark, Savion switch.
Good.
It was real bad. Like you look at the UCF game, it was like the meme that's like do X or draw 25 cards, and then the guy's sitting there with his head in hit. It was like get 3 yards on third down or draw 25, and TCU's hands are just overflowing with cards
continually. I know, but you look at this backfield and you think, okay, there's names here with talent. I mean, Nate Palmer, Jeremy Payne, Trent Battle, Kavorian Barnes, and they should be able to put together a squad that can at least get 4 yards a carry. You'd hope
they should theoretically. I think that's interesting. I do think there's a nice little like tournament theory application there that they brought in a couple guys and they're like, hey, somebody's got to win this job. Like you got to compete, and the level of competition in camp has been really good. 8 returning starters on defense, which is good. I think the defense was 50th last year. The run defense was problematic. 68th in run defense last year. Grant, they need someone to grow into that role. May I nominate the most important player for TCU's defense in 2025?
Go.
Marcus Steele, the big boy, sophomore, 6'5", 325. That man needs to be a menace for this TCU defense to play to the level they are aspiring to.
He's got to eat. He's got to eat up front. I mean, I think they're at the linebacker core, at the back end to frustrate a few passing games and keep TCU in the top quartile of the country in pass defense. But I think the running game, yeah, you're right. It depends on Marcus Steele.
OBRZR, Clark, and Devin Deal should all be all conference. I think that's all but guaranteed at this point. And that could be a really sneaky good defense, but you're going to have, the other Deal has to step up. The schedule is hard, Grant. It just is objectively hard. They could be better than they were last year and still lose more games. They've got ranked opponents back-to-back with SMU and Arizona State. As we've mentioned, UNC is tricky. They have trips to Kansas State, which hasn't always gone well for TCU. Trips to West Virginia, which has not always gone well for TCU. Trips to BYU, which has generally gone well for TCU historically. And then into the season, maybe a Houston team that's figuring it out. A Houston team who pantsed you last year with Shieldwood. Yeah. He's over at Tech. I mean, but golly, if you want to go and figure out, speaking of what I guarantee Bill Belichick watched that tape multiple times this offseason to see how to beat them. But the schedule's a little tricky. I think that's the big thing. I have in my notes, Grant, to mention that the Cincy game on Thanksgiving is an abomination. Just bland conference realignment casualty there.
Yeah, and Cincinnati is going to be very, very bad, I think. The schedule is tough. The over-under, I had it at 6.5, Parker. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yes.
I do think this team is good enough to win more than 6.5 games.
Yes.
But I guess my question then is, and this is probably something that requires further discussion, but what does 8-4 do for TCU? I know what it does for me personally because there's a result, I would hope. But what does 8-4 do for TCU?
I wish that I had the exact quote up here, but the quote at Big 12 Media Days was something like, it was a burn the boats quote from Sonny Dykes. It was like, we need to be in the conference championship game. And I think there's at least going to be conversations about who's there. We'll see. Not rooting for any particular outcome in that, but I do think that this is an all-in year for TCU.
I'm rooting for one particular outcome. It doesn't involve Sonny. I think, as we said earlier, I would highly advise TCU to win at least 9 games, and especially the ones that matter. Like if you're Sonny, lose to North Carolina, Abilene Christian, and SMU, and go 9-1 in conference. That would serve, or 8-1 in conference. That would serve you very well.
Like minimum tolerable is like understandable. You look back at the season, you see this happen and you think, okay, you didn't get some of the breaks. Like that sucks. It should have been better. But like beat an SEC team in the Liberty Bowl is like the minimum where you're like, okay, I get it. You didn't get the breaks. That's fine. That's still a disappointment. But like that needs to be the absolute like white knuckle bare minimum. Like you're going to the principal's office and getting talked to if that happens, acceptable outcome.
Yes.
That's the no blood outcome. I think
we might even be on like it depends on the SEC team.
It might depend on the SEC team.
Because if it's Vandy,
do I read this right? Kentucky punted out of their own end zone 7 times and said we don't want to be here, and you won that game. No, we're not making rings for this.
Maybe it's Texas A&M. Right. That'd be very funny. I'd be happy with that.
That would be great. That would be great. Okay, let's run through some of these other ones. Grant, well, I'll kind of let's try to ping pong and go quicker again on some of these. Baylor, year 2 of Robertson and Jake Spavital. What is to believe that they're not going to be excellent on offense again?
I think Robertson's going to be the difference between very good and great, and it kind of floats on his performance. This is a team that has a lot of talent. This is a team that has a really for my money, and I don't know why I keep thinking this, but I think Dave Aranda might be a top 3 coach in the Big 12, maybe top 2 coach in the Big 12.
I have flipped opinions on Dave Aranda so often throughout his tenure, just because. But credit to him, he has adapted and survived and been willing to figure out what works.
Yeah, and so I think this is going to be, if Baylor makes the Big 12 championship game, Sawyer Robertson's going to be your Big 12 Player of the Year.
Yes, I think I agree with that.
And I hate
to point out
reduce everything to quarterbacks, but that's what it's going to take.
They're important. Can I point out we did not do over under on TCU? Did we both take over on TCU? Okay, yeah. I don't know if I said it out loud. Baylor. I think the big issue for me for Baylor's offense this year is can they have a number 1 receiver who does not wear number 34?
It's
just it's weird. Just looks weird.
It does. Who? Let me look at their receiving core because they have a lot of guys that I like. I'm just glad Monterey finally gone. That guy's haunted my.
He's so fast.
Dude,
Looks like this year they're going to go Ashton Hawkins. Josh Cameron is 34.
Yeah.
And Lewis Brown comes in. He was a SDSU guy last year.
Yeah. Return Bryson Washington, solid at running back.
Pendergrass is out, which is rough.
Sucks.
He was great in short yardage.
Yeah, that guy was
6'2", 218, man. Ring the bell. Michael Trigg poised for a big year. What is that? 4 of 5 returning starters on offensive line.
Yep.
On the defense, basically your entire secondary comes back. New player at the jack position, but comes from Oregon, so clearly has some talent there. Sure. Was Tulane backup or a Tulane transfer as a backup there as well. So, see if that works. Amarian Winston, I believe is his name, the transfer who's coming in to play the jack position. We know that's so important in the Baylor offense or Baylor defense, and they'll go that far. But
surprisingly middling on defense last year, only 44th. Probably going to need to beef that up.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Specifically against a pass game, 50 seconds not going to get it done. They got burned way too much. What was that? The Texas Tech game? Was the Texas Tech game where they just got absolutely pantsed? Yes,
I think that's right. We're just like, what is happening here?
Shout out to that because I do remember I was watching that with Jamie, Melissa, and Colin because we were all in Utah and we were just like, what in the world is happening here? That was I want to look at that score just to be
59 to 35.
59. No, vice versa. Baylor won that game. Yes, I had that backwards. Texas Tech got pants there, but Baylor still gave up a ton of pass offense. Okay. A bunch of games in the 30s down there, and a pretty rough stretch
to Iowa State, which is tough to
43 to Iowa, 34 to BYU. A BYU game they should have won, and just couldn't do. A Colorado game they should have won, and they just couldn't do it. So, also that Utah loss is probably super embarrassing in retrospect. Baylor's over under this season 7.5. Grant, where are you going?
I over. I think you're looking at an 8-win team, 8 or 9-win team.
I mean, you lose all 4 of Auburn, SMU, Arizona State, Kansas State. You're probably favored in every other game except Utah.
Yeah, and I think they'll be.
I like an over. So. I think I want them to beat Auburn. I think it would be funny. As much as it pains me to root for Baylor, it would be funny. I have them at 23rd in the ratings. Grant, we'll go rapid fire. 37th, Kansas, new stadium. Can Jalon Daniels stay healthy? I hate asking that question. I hate it.
New stadium, still Jalon Daniels. He had an 8 out of 12.4 last year. That guy was slinging. I don't think Kansas is going to be very good. I'm pretty low on Kansas. 5-7 last year. They have a weirdly inflated projected win total of 7. I've seen it as high as 7.5 at some places. I trust Lance Leipold, but I have this as an under.
I think I'm going under too. Like we got to talk about it's a little bit of the Matt Campbell conversation of like what is good for Kansas, and like he's done great for Kansas. I think that I want to see what this team can be freed from the Jalon Daniels experience. He's very good. He's very fun. Sure. He has disrupted them substantially. Daniel Hishaw Sr. is there at the running back. A couple new names in Emmanuel Henderson coming in, but a very good offensive line. Bryce Foster Sr. getting some awards there at the center. That's been a hallmark of the Leipold teams. Defense is going to have some turnover. That's the question there. The big issue, and good for them. I mean, I remember doing this preview 3 years ago, Grant, and we were just like, golly, their depth is absolutely terrible. Like they're just not going to make it. Yeah. And we've seen that become less of an issue as they get Power 4 players on their roster. So credit to them. Quick rundown of their schedule this year. Fresno State on Saturday. They have a week 0 game. They play at Missouri. They play at Texas Tech versus Kansas State and at Iowa State versus Utah at home. That's pretty rough. I think I'm going under here. They have just a beefy schedule this year.
Beefy schedule. I think they miss a bowl. And Parker, you're a man who talks football a lot. How hard is it to say Jalon Daniels and not Jaden Daniels? Because I got them, 2 very different people.
Yeah, it's very confusing. Very, very confusing.
That's my insight into the Kansas Jayhawks this year. No, I think they might miss a bowl, to be honest with you.
That would be rough. But they're so easy to root for. But yeah,
they are. No, I don't want to. I just think it might.
BYU is 40th in the preseason rankings, Grant, a team that lived on a prayer, pun intended, last year and got some great bounces and had a great season. Whooped Colorado's absolute behind in the Alamo Bowl last year. Won quite a few games they should not have won. Oklahoma State stands out where, I mean, Friday night, God bless, what was it? Garrett Rangel. God bless him coming in and playing his heart out and still losing there at the end, and a big win for them. Last minute versus Utah. They did lose to a healthy Kansas. They did lose to Arizona State when they kind of played those good teams at the end, but wins against Baylor, wins against Kansas State. The Kansas State game was where the mojo kind of happened, where you just watched the game and thought, I don't believe what I just saw. What in the heck? Because I believe Kansas State was up with like 2 minutes left in the half, and they went down in the half and were down 2 touchdowns. Yep. It was not great. It was very rough. So BYU this season, Grant, what does their schedule look like? How are we thinking about their chances to hit their win total of 6.5?
Well, first off, I'm going to point out that it is pretty remarkable to come off an 11-2 season and then have your win total be 6.5 for the next year. But that just goes to show how much turnover they have. I think they returned 3 guys on defense. Schedule you start with at UCLA. You have Cal Poly and Wyoming in the offseason. Start the Big 12 with a bang. Hosting Texas. Oh, excuse me. No, that's Utah's schedule. What the heck am I doing? I apologize. Had the wrong window up. Hey, we're rusty, folks. It's been a couple years. You start with Portland State at home, much different. Stanford at home, 2 guaranteed wins there. At East Carolina, which, boy, that's a culture shock between BYU and East Carolina, but a game you should win. I highly recommend that you win. At Colorado, at Arizona, at Iowa State, at Tech, at Cincinnati on the road. So they have 5 road games, and their 4 homes are West Virginia, Utah, TCU, and UCF. This is a middling schedule, I would say. Probably leaning towards the hard side with at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, and at Colorado, which is always tough to play at.
Yeah, I think regression comes for everyone. I think big BYU is a prime candidate. Obviously, the quarterback instability is not great. Speaking of abhorrent numbers, Bear Bachmeier, I believe, is wearing 47 and starting at quarterback for them. Write a letter, folks. We can't look. It's a slippery slope. We gotta stand for something here, and we can't have a quarterback wearing 47. I think they're interesting. One, Kalani Sitake, love him, like great guy. Very, very fun. Has built a vision there and sustained success at BYU, and is a great fit for their program. They are in a very kind of annoying spot in that, like, they won a lot of games last year, but I think they still feel like they have a lot to prove this year. Mm-hmm. And so in a way, BYU is going to have, it's not like a revenge tour, but it is kind of like you didn't believe us last year. Well, we're going to show you this year. And that there's some non-zero motivation there. It wouldn't surprise me to see this team go 6-6. I think I lean slightly to the over, which is a substantial regression from last year. But I do expect them to come back to earth. Man, that Utah, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU 4 straight games is it's a little tough.
It's a little tough. I'm going to say under. I think you're probably looking at 6-16 here. Still enough talent. Sitake obviously still a great coach, but I think you're probably trying to get Bachmeier like up and running, and then when you do, you hit that part of the schedule. So
yep,
not great.
The Houston Cougars are at 41st in my ratings. We're going out of order a little bit. Sheil Wood is gone. It's year 2 of Willie Fritz. They bring in Connor Wegman from Texas A&M after what I think we can call a disappointing campaign out there. Sheil Wood goes to Texas Tech, an excellent defensive coordinator. Grant really helped them out last season. At Oregon State in the non-con is a very losable game for them, but Rice and Stephen F. Austin, I think they should be no worse than 2-2 kind of heading into the bulk of conference play. Not a super tough schedule. They do go to Arizona State. That's probably a loss. They go to Baylor. That's probably a loss. They host Texas Tech. That's probably a loss. They're looking to steal the Oklahoma State, Arizona, West Virginia, UCF kind of game here and see if they can get into that bowl. That's really what comes down to. They are 6.5 win total. Does Houston take the leap in Willie Fritz's second year and win a bowl?
This was a team that was 95th overall on offense last year, and I don't think Connor Wegman is the guy to necessarily bring them up to a higher level. All due respect to Connor. I love Willie Fritz. I think this is a team that does not make a bowl. I'm going to go under for Houston this year.
I think I'm there with you. Disappointing. I do like going to get Wegman. Obviously, they have some money. They can.
Tillman Fertitta's got a checkbook.
make it happen. Rashawn Sanford comes in at running back. The run game was 110th in EPA per play last year. It's got to be better. Tanner Koziol, excuse me.
Sure.
The transfer from Ball State, second team All MAC, has the most red zone targets of any returning tight end in college football this year. Could be a level setter for them. I think that offense is poised to be better, but on the same thing, better is a low bar there. The defense, bunch of new guys, kind of a complete rebuild on that side of the ball. I think that will be their undoing this year, even as the offense takes up a step. I don't think they're going to have the 33rd best defense again, and that floated them. So kind of an off-cycle flip. We've seen that sometimes in the Big 12. You get really good at one side of the ball, and then you have some turnover, and you get good at the other, and it's hard to balance both of those. They're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah. You taking under as well?
I'm taking under as well, as much as it pains me. That's Houston. Let's go to Cincinnati, 39th. Grant, they got some FCS transfers. The goal with Sorsby is condense the distribution of plays, and then this year, can he bring them up a little bit? Nothing I love about this team. Like, I think they've made some interesting hires. I think their front office is really interesting, but I just don't know. Dante Corleone, I take that back. I like Dante Corleone. I think he's great. Should be a disruptive force. I don't know how I feel about Cincinnati.
Yeah, I forgot Tyson Vett is the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati now. That is a really great hire. I think Sorsby's might be a little underrated. He wasn't asked to do much. 8 out of 9.1, only 388 attempts. I think he's going to be a fine quarterback for him. The problem, Parker, is have you looked at the schedule?
It's not.
Because Cincinnati's over-under is 6. I'm looking at their schedule now, and I have pretty much I would say, so by your metrics, CFP graphs pending, they're dogs against Nebraska, Baylor at home, Iowa State at home, at Utah, and at TCU. That's 5 losses right there. You get one more, you're at 6, and that could be, I don't know. I think this is probably a 5 or 6 win team. Maybe Kansas steals one off of you, you're at 6, and then I don't know, pay attention to BYU at home.
Yep. I think I agree with you. It's hard. Sorsby should be better. And again, made some good, pulled in some good guys like Joe Cotton Sr., I think is the name of the tackle that's going to come in from the FCS and be really good. Corleone being healthy is absolutely a disruptor up front there. And returning 3 of their 4 starting linebackers from last year, and all of their defensive secondary, but big steps to go. And the schedule just doesn't do any favors, man. It's a little bit tough there. I mean, Nebraska is technically winnable. I'd rather play Nebraska at the beginning of the season, but even then, you're in the hole looking up at, the end of the season is Utah, BYU, TCU, Baylor are 4 or 5 last games. Like, they're going to have to get hot and really go over expectations here.
Yeah, I have them as an under.
All right, let's rapid fire the last couple of these because we have hit the hour mark, and I'm losing my voice because I'm out of shape doing this. But Colorado, are they going to be better losing 2 of their great players? I don't think so. I don't think that there's an addition by subtraction situation here for the Colorado Buffaloes. I will say, to his credit, I think that Deion Sanders has calibrated. I think he came in swinging, and he is calibrated. And I appreciate, like we talked about with Dillingham, insofar as he is being earnest, and he has a way to connect with students and athletes in a way that no one else does. And to the extent he can steer that in, bring a guy like Warren Sapp in and have him rediscover his love for the game and love coaching. Love it. Great story. Let's put everything else in the past in a box. Yep. And going forward, I think I can root for that. I think I appreciate the way that he has calibrated his image to better reflect his position. And I love that. I respect him for that.
Absolutely. I think we'll take everything you said. Also, retiring Shedur's number is hilarious. Besides that, or putting it in the Raptors or whatever they're doing, everything past that, agree with you. I think he's calibrated well. Glad his health is allowing him to coach, and college football is more interesting with him in it. Caden Salter at quarterback will be very interesting. Probably doesn't have the weapons Shedur did, but they do return 4 starters on the offensive line, if my math is correct. Returning production is good. Only if returning production is good. That unit really couldn't get much worse because Shedur was doing a lot in the backfield running around. I think they're not going to go 9-4 again, but their over-under is what, 6.5, 6, let's say. I might try to hit it dead on and say they win 6 games. And Parker's.
I think I'm gonna lean under.
Okay.
Because you look at this and it's like Delaware, Houston, Wyoming, Arizona are your
Sure.
like gimmies. And then you're fighting for your life as a dog in every other game. At West Virginia, maybe you'd be favored in that one.
West Virginia's butt this year, so I would favor Colorado in that game.
They are. Let's go to West Virginia real quick, just because we talked about them. I have them at 63rd. Grant, they're gonna be bad, but you know what? They're not gonna be.
Man, what?
Boring. They're not gonna be boring. I think they are going to be one of the most annoying teams to play against that we can think of in recent history. I think the idea of just a bunch of guys who have bought into Rich Rod's manic, frenzied passion, who are going to try to run 130 plays a game and just continually slap you in the helmet over and over again. I think they're going to be so annoying. I think there is one team that they're absolutely going to upset, and that's just going to be out of left field, like hilarious. Rich Rod did it again down the stretch. That's, TCU, Arizona State, Texas Tech, Utah. One of you guys is on notice. They're going to win one of those 4 games just because it's going to be so annoying to play against.
That's probably fair. I would struggle to find 3 guarantee wins. Ohio, Robert Morris, and I had Colorado there.
Dude, Ohio is not a guaranteed win, my friend.
Excuse me. Right. So with the over under 5.5, that seems like a pretty easy under there.
While we're taking laps on West Virginia and the prior administration, Grant, let's play a quick game called Do You Know What Garrett Green is up to?
No, I don't.
Garrett Green, let me contextualize this. This was something I said on the Bet US show last year before the season. Wasn't on our, the timeline doesn't work there. I said Garrett Green didn't have another step to take. I was like, There is no more with him. He's not going anywhere. Like, he's not doing anything else. Garrett Green is a wide receiver in camp for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Good for him.
The old position switch. Good for him. Love that. Love the quarterback playing out in that position there. West Virginia, 5 is the win total. Give me the under with a hilarious win.
I love that. We have 3 teams left. I think we can do a minute on each team. And then
Let's do it.
Kind of a harder out coming up. But I want to start with UCF. Do you know who their defensive coordinator is?
Scott Frost brought it back. Is it? I do. And now that you've asked me, that don't hit me.
Because it's Alex Grinch. And
that's
right. So he's a
never give up your dreams, kids.
No,
he's been around.
4
He's been
returning
around.
starters. FAU transfer at quarterback. They were 4-8 last year. Over under 5.5. I got him as an under again. I think Scott's struggling.
Not a lot to write home there. That's going to be a rebuild. Absolutely. Arizona, Brent Brennan, brother, is it going to work? I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about Brent Brennan. I'm a little bit worried about Arizona and what they have. I think the value prop of him coming in was he's a win. He's like a winner, and he knows how to win on both sides of the ball. And he had Ted McMillan and Noah Fafita last year and couldn't do it. So what are your thoughts on Arizona this year?
I don't know. Seth Daggett, OC could get interesting. Although he's replacing Dino Babers. What could be more interesting than that? But I think they're going to be fun. I think they're going to be bad. Over under 5.5. I have them as an under.
Yeah, could they be the under team who scores like 40 points a game? Yeah. Yes, what were they last year on offense and defense? They were
sneaky good on
51st on offense, but 79th on defense, 91st in rush defense, 91st in pass defense. Golly, man. Yeah, just gross.
Yeah.
Fafita's bad, need to show me more.
I didn't read that wrong. Fafita is bad.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Seth will have him to play with. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. All right, the last one we'll end on trying to get out of here is Oklahoma State. Grant, the fun thing about Oklahoma State is the more you think about you know about this team, the less you know about this team. Zane Flores is Zane Flores is a country singer. Who's gonna start at quarterback for Oklahoma State?
House Haney.
It's not. No, I think it's gonna be Zane. I don't.
Okay. This team's going to be ass. Speaking of coordinators, can you name both Oklahoma State coordinators?
Zane Flores. It is Zane Flores. Doug Meacham is the offensive coordinator, and it's an NFL guy that he brought in.
Third and
Grantham,
baby. It's Todd Grantham.
It's great. It's great for them. I think they'll run some fun stuff with Haas Hengi. I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year. But also there was a coup this offseason. Like Gundy almost got in a position where he could not get out of it. Which is paradoxical because I do not believe there is a position Gundy could not get himself out of. But I think out of everyone in the Big 12, Grant, Oklahoma State needs to win some games this year. I think they really need to win football games.
And I don't think they can. That's the hard part. It's like, say what you want about Mike Gundy. I enjoy Oklahoma State football. Like I, for some reason, buy into everything they do. And I'm always kind of optimistic about their ability to bounce back. I don't see a bounce back year this year. I really don't.
Which is where Gundy wants you. He absolutely does. Yeah, but you're going to Texas Tech, to Kansas, UCF and Arizona are your other road games. Maybe you can win those, but you're, in conference, you're pulling Baylor, you're pulling Kansas State, you're pulling Iowa State. 5 or 6 wins, doable, but is that exciting? I mean, you're going to get just curb stomped by Oregon to start the season. That sucks.
Yeah, that's not fun for anybody. 5.5.
Tulsa's not.
Yeah,
Tulsa could be annoying. I might go under an
Oklahoma Tulsa's State. Bad. Tulsa's my NCAA team this year. It's also my fiance's alma mater, and they're very bad. They were the second worst team football by your metrics last year.
Yeah, but I like Brad. I like Brad and the boys. The coach is playing a ton of golf and being really good at it. Brad Robbins.
I'd be under.
Trey Lamb is the coach. Brad Robbins, the OC.
Yeah.
We're projecting some bifurcation, Grant, in the Big 12. As much as we talked about parity, I think we've said that the bad teams are going to be bad and the good teams are going to be very good, and we've projected some bifurcation, some stratification, if you will. So very, very interesting. Grant, any closing thoughts here as the sun has faded and I am obscured in shadow? I've got to work on my setup here in my office.
I think if you asked me to pick a Big 12 championship game this year, it would be Arizona State versus Baylor. I think if you asked me what the best song on the new Turnpike album is, I'd say Heaven Passing Through.
Oh, I like that. I like that. If I had to pick a champion, I still think Utah's fun.
Okay.
I still think that I believe in the vision there. And I think that overall, when we're looking at the Big 12, there's just quarterback and defense matters a lot. I think Utah should have the best defense in the Big 12. And I do buy in Dampier. Talking about price of admission, I do like Heaven Passing Through. I think it's hard to top that for me off the top. I think On the Red River is great. Turnpike Troubadours, Grant, does opening songs better than almost anyone in country music. And so that one always holds a place in my heart. Grant, this has been a delight and a joy just to talk and hang out with you. Enjoy that we did it. Shout out to Tad and Kyler who bullied us into this on Twitter. We enjoyed getting to talk about it. Find us both on Twitter. He's at Grant McGalliard and I'm at Stats of War. Enjoy the season, have fun, and I'm sure we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Adios, amigos.